It's now time for Energy Insights, where you get an inside view and local perspective of all the oil and gas progress going on in the Mid-Ohio Valley. This program is brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association and can be heard every Saturday at 9 a.m. on WMOA AM 1490, FM 101.3, JAWS Country FM 100.9, and ESPN Radio AM 630 and FM 92.9. Here's Johnny Wharf, your local host.
Energy Insights on a Saturday morning. Johnny Wharf along with Jerry James, president of Artex Oil Company. And I guess the big news on the street out there is the gas prices are a little high. What's going on out there, Jerry?
Good morning, John. How are you doing today?
All is well.
Yeah, I was shocked, too, when I saw it this week. You know, it's a lot of factors that all come together at the wrong time, at the wrong place. But the problem is, you know, it just starts with a reduction in oil production in the United States.
And does this come back to, obviously energy independence, right? And how far are we? Do we take 2 steps forward and 5 back, or how does that work?
Right. Well, you know, you got to kind of, you know, everything's got a history to it because the wells that we're, you know, producing from today have been in planning, you know, for months or sometimes years. So when you look at what happened in the decade running up to COVID, 85% of the growth in the world's oil production came mainly from the U.S. and a little bit from Canada. And then, you know, we have COVID and everything like that, which shut down transportation on the whole world. And when that happened, you know, you've seen production drop dramatically because the industry, you know, 2 years ago had prices of negative $35 a barrel. So what that did was really hurt the oil and gas industry. You can imagine if you got a product that you can't even sell, you've got a problem. And so the drilling slowed down. So then we start to come out of COVID. And, you know, starting at, let's say, beginning last year, transportation business is picking up.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, the president makes one of his campaign promises, and I don't think a lot of people realized this was one of his campaign promises, and he doubled down on it just last week where he said, you know, he wanted to ban oil and gas. And so what that did is, and that sent a chilling effect on, you know, the oil and gas industry and more importantly, probably the people investing in the oil and gas industry to thinking, gee, should I really expand the business? But the President of the United States says his policy is to ban the product you use. And so, voila, that creates shortages, and when you have shortages, it drives the price up.
His deal just more on the clean energy bill? Is that what that was?
Yes. Yeah, that was all around the clean energy. And I don't think a lot of people really heard him say that because he didn't get out in the public a lot and campaign, you know, during the leading up to COVID.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people realized that voted for the president, realized they were voting for higher energy prices. But last week he was in Japan and he was asked about the high energy prices because, you know, he doesn't give a lot of interviews.
Right.
And, you know, he was in an interview with Japan, and one of the reporters asked him about the interview, and he says, well, we're in the middle of a transition, and it's going to be a wonderful thing. And the key is, I don't think a lot of people understood when he used the word transition, because I even watched some of the news reporters, business news reporters, and if they didn't follow the whole discussion, this is kind of like this inside baseball talk, right, in the energy business.
Right.
And, you know, this guy I was watching, Peter Navarro, who's on Fox Business, and after that speech, he goes, what's this whole transition? Well, I can tell you what it is, and this is what a lot of people don't understand. This transition means we're going to do away with energy that has CO2 emissions and go to energy that doesn't. So you think about what has CO2 emissions. It's things you burn. It's coal, it's oil and gas, it's even wood, anything, you know, any type of thing like that. Well, that's 85% of our energy comes from those type of energy sources. Wind and solar as total energy in the United States only provides about 3%.
Right.
So this transition is going to be extremely expensive, and we're just starting to see the down payment on it right now. This is just a down payment of what the cost will be.
Jerry James is our guest on Energy Insights. Just a minute to go here, Jerry, and I know it could take 50 minutes to answer this question, but what about the Ukraine situation, and what has that done to this oil and gas industry?
It has not helped because it's kind of spooked the markets. But really, when you look at the price of oil, it was headed up dramatically prior to Ukraine. And what a lot of people missed, for instance, in England last year, they had a failure of their Green New Deal because they're further along than us. And prior to Ukraine, in the fall of last year, England's seen a spike in its natural gas prices of tenfold because the wind slowed down in the North Sea and there wasn't enough energy, and then they didn't have enough to go around. So this is not an unusual feature to see higher energy prices in this whole energy transition.
All right. Well, I guess it's not going to bring the gas prices down today, but we're a little smarter about it, and we might be a little bit wiser as that's what the program's about. So we appreciate your time as always. Thanks for your time on Energy Insights. Thanks for what you do in the community as well.
Thank you. I just wish I had better news.
All righty. Hey, I do as well. So thanks again. And that's Energy Insights brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association.
Thank you for listening to Energy Insights, brought to you by the Southeastern Ohio Oil and Gas Association. Tune in every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on WMOA Local Radio, JAWS Country, and ESPN Radio, as Johnny Wharf brings you your local and inside perspectives going on in the oil and gas industry right here in the Mid-Ohio Valley.